Hello, I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to In Conversation With, the podcast series that delves into the world of financial services and brings you face to face with some of the most notable figures in the industry. Listen as we discuss topics that are currently facing the industry and hear from visionary CEOs to disruptive innovators as we bring you a diverse array of voices and perspectives. We'll explore the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and the insights they have to share about the ever-evolving landscape of financial services. Hello and welcome to In Conversation With. I'm Kimberley Dondo, and in today's episode, I'm joined by Anick Sharma, who is a certified financial planner and director at Videre. Financial planning, I guess. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello.
So could you give us a bit of background into yourself and how you got started in financial advice?
Yeah, so I actually had a background in academia initially, published white paper looking at the cerebral hemodynamics of the brain, which is a bit of a mouthful, I know. It's essentially concussion in rugby players, and I thought I was going to go and do a PhD.
Okay.
But I last minute 180 turn, and I feel like I'm one of the very few who sought out a career in financial services. I know most people say they fell into it.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a job in a firm in Harrogate, Brook Dobson Breer. And looking back now, it was great. So they were financial planning, cash flow modeling, evidence-based investing, all those sort of things, which I was essentially trained in what I view as one of the best ways of going about it. So that was good for my learning curve. Moved on a few years after. I ended up buying a house up north, and the commute became a bit too much. So moved shortly after, and then shortly after that move, I set up on my own looked to set up, and here we are 12 months later after going through the process.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's any connection between what you learned being essentially a scientist and then moving over to financial planning. Is there anything where you're like, well, I learned this and I can use that here?
So I am very data driven and I love numbers. So particularly when it comes to cash flow and the puzzle of various different spinning plates and pulling that together with a client's life it's probably quite relatable. I think what's somewhat unusual, I really like people as well. I typically find people that like numbers don't like people as much. It's a big generalization, but it's just from my experience. But I combine both, really.
Okay, that's good. Being a people person, also data driven, that's pretty much a perk for you, I guess. Yeah.
It helps with the seat I'm in as well, in terms of what I do.
Yeah. So I did stalk your LinkedIn a lot. And you mentioned that at Videre, you won't take this lightly in terms of financial planning and when looking after your clients. So what does this mean in practice, and how do you ensure clients feel valued and prioritized?
I genuinely love what I do. And I think financial planning has the power to change people's lives. And as soon as you see it in that way, you realize people's lives and futures are at stake. And if that's not taken seriously, then it can be quite a dangerous position, I think. I'm genuinely honoured to be able to help people on this journey. And with that in mind, you have to pay time, care and attention to those people. There's 3 directors at Videre, and we all share that same belief that people have to come first. And it's not even out of a false place of saying it for the sake of it. We all genuinely have that passion to help lives. Now, with that philosophy of how we believe, it's actually quite easy to ensure that clients feel valued and prioritized, because fundamentally we're being ourselves. We're showing characteristics that we genuinely live and breathe. So yeah, we don't take it lightly whatsoever.
No, yeah. I think especially with the fact that finances probably are a lot of people or majority of people's biggest anxiety. I think it shouldn't be taken lightly.
I wouldn't want my financial planner to just be like, yeah, whenever you want to send over or whatever.
And money's such an emotive subject as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we can be objective and scientific and show all the data on a spreadsheet. But fundamentally, emotions don't really relate to what a spreadsheet shows. And we have to be able to tap into that and know what a client thinks rather than what the best answer on the spreadsheet is, because the value of financial planning is in long-term meaningful relationships. And if I'm turning to you as a client saying you should do this because the spreadsheet says so, and the client emotively is saying something different, then it's never going to work long-term. And it's not really having great outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also talk about traction planning process. Can you explain what that is and how it helps clients get the most from life?
Our ethos is build wealth for life, and the human side of getting the most out of it. So our traction process is essentially a comprehensive deep dive into a client's past, what their vision is for the future, and their perceived obstacles from getting there. It's from that point we can start to create a plan together to overcome it, get through it, plan the life. Life is for living, not necessarily working or being on the hamster wheel, so to speak. So because of that deep dive, we can contextualize the financial plan. We know what we're aiming for, our point B. And it's so easy to say, you must have an ISA, you must have a pension, you must invest this way or that way. But if we don't know the context of what we're aiming for, then how can we turn around and say you need this? If we don't know what the ideal life looks like, then why are we saying to use certain tools to help us get us there in the first place if we haven't taken the time to understand our clients on a human level? So our traction process is a real deep knowing of our clients and what their lives and aspirations are, really.
Yeah. And also, the reason why we were connected is through Haley from the Verve Foundation. She has connected me to so many great people. And you were one of her incubees from the advisor Incubator. So could you tell us a bit more about what that journey was like for you and how that influenced your approach when setting up and creating Videre?
Yeah, so it's essentially a cohort of like-minded people in a similar journey, setting up their own businesses and getting through a course and being able to bounce off each other. I'm really plugged into, I love financial planning and I'm always listening to things about it and podcasts and learning. I enjoy learning. So from the learning new information perspective, it probably wasn't anything I didn't already know. But in terms of the value I got of being around people and Haley and being able to tap into that experience and just bounce off ideas and that affirmation of my beliefs and have different insights was really good. And putting all those people into one group is useful. We're crystal clear in our beliefs and our ideology. And whilst I might not agree with someone else's views, it's really interesting to see how they view financial planning or the financial services landscape, because that makes me pause and reflect on our practices. Could we be doing it this way? Is this the right way to do it? Is my thinking correct? Can we optimize it somehow? And it's a really supportive community. We have a group where we're just constantly chatting. I say constantly when we have time.
Yeah.
And we all elevate each other, and it's nice and it's fantastic to be a part of. So yeah, the entire group is amazing. Haley was amazing. The Verve itself have been great throughout.
Yeah. And I wonder, when you were thinking about setting up Videre and setting up your own firm, was it terrifying at any points? Were you like, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah, it is. It's terrifying, it's exciting, nervousness, optimism, all of the above. But fundamentally, excitement overrides it all. It is fantastic. Every day I wake up with my to-do list, 1,000,001 things, but it's fine because it's my little baby and I can help grow it. And there's a real sense of doing it how we think it should be done. Okay.
And I'm sure you have faced some challenges. So can you share some of those?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've overcome them by now. Maybe, I don't know.
um, it's there's been no real surprises, but there's been a load of challenges. Mm-hmm. It's been useful because one of the directors, Luke, he has had his own business beforehand, so he's known quite a lot of what the teething issues are, and we've been able to get ahead of it. Logistically, there's so much to consider: getting processes, infrastructure, framework, tech, and it's like a massive 3D jigsaw. So if we think the process is right and then we try and apply it within the tech and framework, you realize it doesn't quite fit. So you then have to go back to the process. But once you change something in the process, you go back to the framework and realize actually it doesn't work the other way around. So it has been a constant jolting around. Luckily, we've gone directly authorized. So we had quite a bit of time while the FCA were going through their process. And we managed to iron all that out. So once we were given the green light, we have been able to run, so to speak.
Okay. So do you think that you're more agile because there is three of you? You're able to make decisions quickly and make those changes more rapidly?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. All three of us bring different things to the table and different perspectives. So we can all easily be blindsided to our way of thinking and our perspective, when in reality we have two others to have a different view. Mm-hmm. If it comes to any bigger decisions, it's going to require discussion. So it might, playing devil's advocate, might not necessarily be as agile as me instantly off the bat like that. But it means our decisions are more thought out and comprehensive, which ultimately is a better outcome for Videre and clients, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, less reactionary, which I think I would be very... I would probably fall into that trap. I can sometimes be like, oh no, I need to fix this immediately. And then usually when I talk to someone else, they're like, no, take a backseat, think about it. It's fine. So you also emphasize simple fixed fees. And I know that fees have been such a hot topic, especially last year. I think I saw a lot of stuff about fees, but you also talk about having a transparent approach. So why is this important to you, and how does it benefit your clients?
I think as a profession as a whole, we have an incredibly murky history when it comes to fees and deception and cloak and daggers, and especially with how clients would be paid off products they didn't really know what they were getting. Mm-hmm. And there's been various pension mis-selling scandals. We need to move away from that and educate. And I think one way that we can do that and elevate the profession is be incredibly open about fees. We shouldn't hide away from it. Our fees are our fees. Clients will, if you're delivering real tangible value, clients will be able to see that. So there's no need to try and hide it within a ongoing advice charge within some investment wrapper, say. Mm-hmm. It also stems from a place of integrity and honesty, doing the right things for a client. We shouldn't hide away from that. And that's really our belief and our philosophy, doing the right things for a client, being upfront and honest about everything. Mm-hmm. If we deliver value, then clients will come our way, essentially.
Yeah. I think that is also what clients want, which is transparency. I don't want to walk in somewhere thinking that's going to be one thing and then end up feeling stuck and like, oh, okay, I guess I'm just going to have to roll with it. But a lot of people are wary of financial advisors, feeling that they might be pushed into products they don't need. You talked about some of the mis-selling of products and such. So how do you address this concern with your financial planning, not product selling philosophy?
So as you say, financial planning is our philosophy. So everyone has a financial plan and the plan first. Mm-hmm. The best way I like to think about financial planning is currently you're at point A and we devise some sort of financial plan to get to point B. It could be retirement, living in the Bahamas, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. Essentially, we have to draw a line between point A and point B, and that's the financial plan. Now, that straight line is essentially a selection of investments or tools, investment wrappers, whatever it is. Because we put planning first, what tool or what investment or product we use, we're incredibly agnostic to. It's the right tool for the job. Mm-hmm. Now, that's probably a bit different to other people or previously within history, where people would shoehorn into products and investments that they don't actually need. We're not incentivized by any sort of product whatsoever because our fees don't align to that. We're completely fixed fee. So whatever product essentially delivers a financial plan in the best ways is what we will do. And that's why we'll always be financial planning first, and products are just the tools to get us there, essentially.
Right. And when it comes to attracting clients, is there a certain client base that you and the other directors are like targeting, or are you just like anyone can come in?
We'll always have a conversation with anyone, and even if it's not necessarily the right fit because of our fixed fee approach, we'll still try to add value. We're not just going to slam the door and be like, no, go away.
Yeah.
We'll always try and help where possible. Mm-hmm. Typically, though, business owners, dentists, practice owners fall in our remit expertise and experience.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you mean by independent evidence-based solutions? Can you give an example of how this translates into real-world advice for your clients?
Yeah, it probably stems a bit from my academic background too, but I love scientific literature because I'm a bunch of fun like that, reading journals and papers. Yeah. Now, there's quite a lot of evidence out there to suggest a certain way of investing can lead to good outcomes if it's held for long enough. Now, within a real life client setting, it essentially means getting good investment outcome. So investing money, hopefully it grows if it's held for a long enough period. And because of investing in such a way, it could produce good returns, which ultimately enables a client to fund life or retire a few years earlier, or maybe go down to 4 days a week, 3 days a week, be able to take the grandkids to school every day. Ultimately, it leads to flexibility in life choices, which is fantastic. Again, that investment solution and being evidence-based is just a tool. But equally, it's very important to us. It's not speculating on the next market movement or trying to pick the next needle, because the odds are you're not going to get it right. And if you bet someone's retirement and life on that, it's an incredibly risky bet. And it doesn't have, the odds aren't in your favor of getting that right, especially when you've got the massive investment asset managers trying to play the same game with their army of PhD analysts and the most incredible, brightest minds there are.
Yeah. I think I appreciate that, having also had a science background before I took a random left into journalism. But also I think I am also someone who always tries to back everything I say with evidence. Not all the time. Sometimes I just like to make up stories, but that's the creative part of me, you know? We're not all just a monolith. We have different areas of ourselves, exactly. Which I think lend to our professions as well, clearly. But I wonder if you could share anything about the biggest misconceptions that people might have about financial planning. What have you come across, whether in your everyday life or when you're talking to clients, about what people think financial planning is or what a financial planner does?
I think as soon as I mention I'm a financial planner, instantly people think I'm day trading or trying to speculate on market movements. And it's not the case at all. It's a financial plan first, planning out life and getting the tools to get there. Again, I've probably mentioned tools quite a lot within this episode, but the investment piece is just one bit in isolation, and it's a tool to get us there. There's life planning, tax management, estate planning, intergenerational wealth, withdrawal strategies, etc. So it's just one piece of the puzzle. Not everything relies on the investment piece, and certainly not day trading either.
No, you're not stressed and not drink on your like 5th cup of coffee yet. So definitely not a day trader.
I
know. So what's one piece of financial advice you would give to everyone, regardless of their age or income?
Not sure about advice per se, but in terms of overall guidance, get good with savings habits and investment habits. I often have people say that I don't have enough to save or I don't have enough to start investing. The power of compounding is that the earlier we start, the better. And over time, it can increase exponentially, which is incredibly powerful. Imagine a snowball at the top of a hill. It can start quite small, but as soon as it starts going down the hill and gathers momentum, it can grow into quite a sizable amount. So even if it's something relatively small, little and often, just start.
Yeah. Isn't that, I feel like that's from the Warren Buffett school of investment. That's like his biggest tip is always like compound.
It is. Everyone always says it. And I don't know if it's been paraphrased so much it's lost the original quote, but allegedly Einstein said compounding is the eighth wonder of the world.
Yes, I've also heard this. And I've also seen it on like those Pinterest things with his picture looking a little goofy. And you're just like, yeah, I'm going to add that to my inspiration board. But it is really good advice. Again, really sometimes difficult to stick to because sometimes you just want to book that holiday.
But to be fair, you made a really good point there. Financial planning is all about balancing today versus tomorrow because we only get one shot of life. And if we start putting all our happiness and anchor it towards retirement, we haven't enjoyed the journey in which anything can happen.
Yeah.
And if something horrendous happens in a week or a month, then we've lost out life and all the good memories. Real wealth is all about time, memories, and moments with those that mean the most to us. And if we wait 20 or 30 years for all that to happen, life will go past too quickly and we've missed those rich experiences. So balance is so important.
That is another piece of guidance that I like. I will take that on board. So finally, where can listeners learn more about you and Videre financial planning?
Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Anick Sharma, or LinkedIn Videre Financial Planning, or our website at viderefinancial.com.
Okay. I know I said finally, but one more. What is your kind of goal? Do you have like a 5-year plan for where you see yourself and Videre going?
I think at the moment, because we're relatively new, just get stability moving forward. And after that, be a real voice for financial planning, because quite a lot of people don't know what financial planning is.
Yeah.
Put it on the map, start talking about it, and make our philosophies known about fixed fee, evidence-based investing and financial planning first. If we can be a real voice within the profession and help people on their journeys too, loads of new talent coming through. It can be difficult to navigate the big nationals or some of the smaller firms. Which way should they go? What their options are? Just to be a good voice in the profession would be fantastic.
Amazing. Well, I do hope that I get to check in at some point and you can let me know how your message has spread. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on my podcast today, Anick. This was a really fun conversation.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine. So make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.